Let's turn our sights on Diane Abbott, shall we?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's been well documented over the last 24 hours that she has been reinstated by the Labour Party, so she now has the whip back. But she says that she was tipped off, I think, by somebody at the Times, as I understand it, that it has been said that she, even though she's had the whip restored, is not able, not welcome, not permitted to stand as a Labour candidate in Hackney again as the parliamentary candidate for the Labour Party. Keir Starmer has said, to be fair to him, over the last few hours, that's not true, nothing has been decided. Now, I don't know if you have some particular political insight, given your connections. What is going on there, first of all? What's true?
Well, the first and most important thing for the Labour Party at the beginning of the election campaign is that this is blown up in their faces in a disastrous way for a party that is supposed to embrace the equality regime. So you've got Labour Party members and even MPs who are accusing the Labour Party, and in effect Keir Starmer himself, of racism or Islamophobia because others are being deselected, as well as Claire Shaw, as well as Diane Abbott.
Yeah.
So
Lloyd Russell Moyle has been told that so he's under investigation for something or other, we don't know what, and he's been told that he can't stand. So yes, there are several, and it's been called, of course, a purge of the left. Do you buy into that?
it is a sort of purge of the left, but I think it's basically a purge of anyone who's likely to criticise Keir Starmer and make life difficult for him as and when he becomes Prime Minister. So this is a badly handled bungle which has been simmering in the background with people asking questions about why people are being allowed into the party who shouldn't be, but others are being chucked out after 40 years of loyal service. I mean, you have to remember that Diane Abbott is a special character, a special case. She is the first black woman MP. She was a front bencher under Jeremy Corbyn, and she's a legend in her own way.
But you're not suggesting for a second, Trevor, that we should treat her, or the party should treat her differently because of her ethnicity?
No, but the point is that that is what the party stands for.
Yeah,
the
but
party,
that doesn't mean special treatment.
Well, it certainly doesn't mean that she should be singled out for this dismissal and kept hanging around for 6 months after the verdict was reached.
Well, there is that. So, and Starmer being labelled today as, should we just say, fibbing, misleading, on the basis that she was asked to do a 2-hour anti-Semitism course, which she did some months ago, but that wasn't publicised, and it's only now coming out that, of course, she's allegedly being barred from standing. But I guess, you might argue that she's only being treated in the same way as Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn was ostracised from the party for seemingly being anti-Semitic. Keir Starmer himself, don't forget, when Diane Abbott uttered the words that she uttered, when she wrote in The Guardian also, I think, with regard to it is not possible to be racist towards Jewish people, or words to that effect, Keir Starmer stood up immediately and said, what Diane Abbott has said is anti-Semitic. So if she has been anti-Semitic, why was she given the whip back at all? Well,
why has it taken 5 months for them to announce that she has been anti-Semitic?
Well, it's a bit like Nick Brown, isn't it? I mean, they're trying to do exactly the same thing with regard to any of their dirty washing, so to speak, from a political perspective. They have sought just to brush it under the carpet.
They wanted it out of sight until the election, and now it's blown up in their face. And I think that it's the way they've handled a woman, no matter whether you agree with what she says or what she's done, her history, I think the members of the party feel that she's being treated with disrespect. And there are a lot of people who actually like Diane Abbott and what she has to say and what she's said throughout her career.
And she said that no matter what, she's going to stand regardless, hasn't she?
Yes, and I think that presents a real problem, because I think Jeremy Corbyn, for instance, outside the Labour Party, is going to stand, and I think he could easily win.
So he'll stand as an independent, we think, in Islington. But what about the Galloway connection?
Well, just finishing off with Diane Abbott, if she does stand, I think she will win. So there are two people within the House of Commons who will be a real thorn in the side of Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
George Galloway is a great mischief maker and a big problem for the Labour Party and Keir Starmer in particular over the Muslim vote, which he's stirring up.
Which he's captured completely.
Which he has captured and could present an enormous problem, a real headache throughout the whole of the Parliament, because Gaza is not going to go away no matter what happens.
Yeah.
That demonstration is going to grow, not diminish.
Even though surely in Britain we should not be electing people or even discussing or considering policy based on something that this country nor its protesters have any control over from the point of view of influencing those decision makers, i.e. Hamas leaders and Benjamin Netanyahu, but the fact that the conflict is some 4,000 miles away, I mean, it's ludicrous, isn't it, that people should actually be elected, George Galloway or anybody else, on the basis of a conflict over which we have no control.
Yes, it is.
But it will form a part of this election, won't it?
It is ludicrous, but it is what you get with democracy. And what you get with democracy is the demotic people, people who are potentially tyrannical figures, hijacking democracy for their own purposes and then using it in an undemocratic fashion. And that's what's happening with George Galloway.
Do you think Keir Starmer will change tact with the likes of Diane Abbott just to make this go away? Because, of course, as we're talking about it now, it becomes a distraction at a very, very important time for Keir Starmer.
Well, I think that the problem for Starmer is that he's handled it badly. I think the fact that there's been a rather furtive attempt to keep it under wraps for 5 months, 6 months, excuse me, I think that reflects badly on him. If that had not been the case, I think that he could have used this as a banner for some sort of honourable stance on the question of racism, anti-Semitism and fair play. But it hasn't quite gone the way he planned it and hoped it would work out.
But what does he do? Because if he lets her stand, whether she's fit or not, I guess, is the question. Is she fit to stand? If she stands, she wins the seat, undoubtedly. I mean, it's a safe Labour seat, even safer, you could argue, given the polls. And he then has her within the party, to him potentially as an undesirable for the next 5 years as an MP.
And indeed, and in fact, you've got the next 5 weeks, which is important, more important in some ways than what happens afterwards.
We're trying to keep her away from cameras, I might.
Exactly, and Diane Abbott is not going to stay away from cameras, and the cameras are not going to stay away from Diane Abbott.
But does that mean he might appease her over the next week or two?
I'm not sure how he can now.
Well, maybe he'll have to, because otherwise, as we've said, she continues to be a thorn in his side. Also, Faiza Shaheen today has also not only been told that they cannot stand as a candidate for Labour, but has suggested that they are going to take it further from a legal perspective. So now we're seeing legal action against the Labour Party on the basis of being told that they can't stand as a parliamentary candidate. So it is unravelling for Keir Starmer, isn't it?
It is, and it's this sort of identity politics issue on which the Labour Party stands so firm. It's turned into a tiger of which he's holding the tail, and suddenly it's going very badly wrong for those who are on the woke side of the political argument, with those who are taking advantage of their special status to cause trouble for the party.
Yeah. So when they say that governments, the oppositions don't win elections, governments lose them. I mean, this really is for Keir Starmer to lose, and these shenanigans with these thorns in Keir Starmer's side certainly don't help him, do they?
No, as I said earlier, I think that he will still win, but I think that we might see a narrowing of the polls that might not have otherwise happened, but for these events. And I think people are focused very much on the issues of race, wokery, immigration, and all of the issues that are condensed into this one personal imbroglio involving Diane Abbott and, of course, the others we've mentioned, Jeremy Corbyn, George Galloway, and
and it certainly will be an immigration election. Obviously, look, we've had 14 years of Conservatives. We are where we are in terms of where immigration is. So I think the latest number is something like 750,000 net migrants. The Labour Party obviously sounding very tough with regard to criminal gangs and such like. Actually, whether they have the jurisdiction in other countries to go after those gangs remains to be seen. But it really will be an immigration election, won't it?
It will, and I'm afraid that I do not trust the Labour Party when it comes to immigration. I think what we're going to see
I think we could say the same with the Conservative Party, couldn't we?
Well, we could.
But Trevor, we've got to go to a break now in the news.
It's been an absolute pleasure you being here.
Thank you very much indeed.